Welcome back to another episode of To Be Fair. Namaste, everyone. Today we are talking about brown parents and expectations. I think it's the topic that you brought to me on our walk recently.
I did.
A little bit of an example you gave about your stay in Sweden. Was it over a year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what do you want to talk about?
Well, I guess to clarify, I guess brown parents and expectations, but I guess the expectations that are on us and, the brown children of migrant parents or brown parents.
Should phrase that better.
The maybe explicit and spoken expectations, but also a lot of the implicit kind of, internal expectations of what is appropriate or what is okay or what is maybe disrespectful and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That we feel,
I think, I think a lot of times it's explicit where you're not allowed to do that. This is not okay.
Yeah, which is
normal. I think there's also a lot of internal, maybe even guilt. Not necessarily an overt guilt, but a sense of, they've sacrificed things and now if I had done this, then,
Right. It's funny because when you first mentioned that guilt name, that interesting, because I was like, maybe I'm just a really bad person because I don't feel like I have that guilt anymore.
Yeah, or anymore.
Whereas before I might have, but now I'm just like, well, you mentioned guilt and I was like, what
I think
guilt?
There's definitely a line. I feel like there's some things where...
Of course, it's always a line.
But I think some things I don't care what parents say or think at all.
Yeah.
I just, they can
of course.
yell for how... I just don't care. And then they keep thinking, okay, that's enough, no more. And I'll just, I don't listen. I don't care.
Okay.
But there's other things where I struggle and I'm like, I feel like that would just undermine so much.
Right.
E.g., we were talking about the Sweden where, I enjoyed myself so much over there and I was thinking, at least when I was there, I'm like, I could just move here. I'd finish my honours. And I'm like, let me just, leave. But thinking about, you touched on it a few episodes ago about, parents leaving home, coming here, sacrificing so much for then you to kind of just fly away. And that was, along honours, that was 5 years ago. So that was, again, a long time ago.
Wow,
but
it's 5 years ago.
It's still something that I'm like, I wonder how many other people that are in the brown experience kind of have that where they feel like they potentially can't fulfill what they maybe impulsively wanted to.
Okay. So this is interesting. Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. So at the time you felt like, I want to stay here, but you had that thought of, my parents sacrificed so much. But isn't that also isn't the whole sacrifice to be do whatever you want to do then?
Yeah, but I think this, and obviously hindsight, it's a different thing.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think it's more, I don't know, just if we speak just from my perspective and my example, it's Dad, for example, was lecturing physics and he was the head of an IT department as well back home.
Oh.
And then now, he's been working odd jobs, whatever else, and and then mum and dad, their whole family and, their friends and their whole circle, everything's kind of been sacrificed for us and our education and our, success or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And for then you just kind of disappear and be like, see you later, thanks. And I'm sure that's fine because that's what they wanted, but it just, to me at that time felt
wrong.
Well, not real, but it does feel like, I can't do that.
Okay, so that's I think there's a positive in that as well, that you feel that indebted to your parents.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're going off to Sweden to if you were, it was fine as well, just to go to festivals and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you are there to because you found something you love.
Of course, but
you want to do.
And that was just my personal experience, which I guess prompted potentially using this as a topic or a prompt.
Yeah, it's a really interesting
I feel like
point.
I scroll through TikTok so much. I'm on brown TikTok, and a lot of people talk about how they feel that barrier to doing a lot of things. And a lot of the times it's simple things like going to parties when you were younger, and you're not allowed to do that because parents might be like, you can't go. A lot of people talking about, I can't just get tattoos. I have brown parents.
It's funny you mention.
But, there's so many things that I feel that people just don't even allow themselves to do because they feel, I'm just not allowed. This just can't happen. Or
so maybe it's an age thing. Because I think you can't have that for your whole life. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable because you're going to be trying to satisfy.
100%.
So I think you have got to that stage. It's the fact that you're talking about it like that. If you were like, right now, I feel bad doing this and that. And you wouldn't be here doing this because you feel bad. So.
No. But yeah, it's more just, I feel like, and I might be wrong, but I feel like a lot of brown kids have this kind of like unspoken, and obviously we're not talking about the explicit expectation, but the unspoken expectations that maybe limit a lot of their expressions and a lot of their
probably. I mean, that's probably not a controversial thing.
No, but
it's a normal thing.
But I think it's an issue when it limits you though, and especially for a lot of the things like I was talking about in terms of doing this or doing that, not big things, but it comes from, I think, a fear of your parents.
What kind of little things? I know moving away is not a little thing.
No, exactly. So I'm saying like other things.
What other little thing? You mentioned a little things. Like what example would you have a little thing back then? I'm assuming back then that you would be like, oh no, our parents would act. Tattoos maybe? Well, ironic that he mentions that. I don't know if you guys can see. That's just half of it or a quarter of it.
No, it's... I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say because I've also just realized recently that I think my ADHD has kind of like more the perception that I've had of a lot of things. And I feel like maybe it's not the normal way people would perceive situations.
No, I do. When you first mentioned that, like brown kids and maybe other Asian kids, you have like certain expectations in your head. Course. Also, apart from the explicit one, I think the explicit ones are easy because you're told.
Of course, so everyone knows A's, them. You need to do this.
Like you get told, but the things that you don't get told, it's like, I don't know, it's hard to come up with examples. It's like maybe dating a white girl or something. Back then, is an example.
Dating a white girl, that could be example.
That's not really small, but you know what I mean. Like
isn't a small one.
Having a friend who was like, well, I don't know. That's a bit. But I know what you mean. You have that.
But it's where you don't even allow yourself to go in that direction. Maybe
there is a barrier there.
Because you're just like, it wouldn't work out. Or like, oh, my parents or my family.
Which I don't think is entirely, like, it's not. It's hard. It's like 50-50 both people's fault.
Yeah, and it's not to say it's a bad thing or a good thing, but I just think it's something that needs to at least be thought about and be like, oh,
it's present.
How do we maybe go about that? Because, I'm sure the parents don't want to be limiting their kids.
No.
That's the opposite. But then also the kids, aren't expressing themselves or doing things that I guess...
Yeah, I get what... I think I get what you mean, like, in terms of expressing. You feel like you can't as much. But then, I mean, you start, like, the tattoos. When was your first tattoo?
I don't know, like, first year uni. So it was still late, though.
Way before Sweden.
It was late, so...
That's actually a very good word you just used, late. I feel like a lot of things I've done have been late.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the...
normal rite of passage and ages.
Especially, like, with Australia here and the drinking, Your friends, not sure if they all drink, but my friends at the time, they all started when they're like 15.
Oh, yeah.
So I would go to parties and like events when I was like year 10s or 16s, and everyone's drinking, and I'm like, no. I didn't actually have my first drink till I was 19. And that was just like a thing of me being like, oh, all my friends do it, but I'm not really that into it. And then I think I was like, oh, I'll wait till after school.
Yeah.
Because I feel kind of bad. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's part of it.
Why would you feel bad? It's that...
Yeah, but it's also not... That's probably a positive, that you don't ruin your liver from 15, right?
No, I think a lot of these things are drilled into us from the values that the parents give you.
Which is good and bad.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. But it's that word you use, late.
It is. Everything is a bit late, isn't it?
I think that is a very good point. Because like tattoos, you said first year, and you said that was pretty late. Because most people, you can get it when you're...
I don't even know. 16. If you have your parents'
if you're 15, you can do it, right? Like belly, like piercings, all that kind of stuff. So maybe it is just... It's like I said with the age thing. Maybe it's just I think it has a lot to do with school as well. Because usually when you finish until high school, you're like, obviously you're a kid. And then obviously 18 hits and you're out of high school. It's like the regimented life, right? Where it's like, we mentioned in the education video. It's everything's set out for you. Then uni starts. It's like, well, before uni, you got like, what, 4 months of like nothing? After 12, 13 years of every day. So it's like maybe that with the lifestyle with you had at home as well. It's like, oh no, you're regimented. And then it's like, well, maybe like all this time, maybe I can do something that interests me.
And it probably is
Act out, express yourself.
I think exactly that, in that I don't need to be living in accordance with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And you probably are, like you said, acting out or, having that adolescence rite of passage, but later on in
than
life.
most people would have. Australia, probably America as well. Like most Western countries, I'm assuming. I know UK is started drinking pretty early and stuff, but it is. I think that's an important.
Yeah, even
important point.
like I know a lot of I think like my sister when she went to like even birthday parties and stuff, like, as a kid, people would probably birthdays, 18s, 21st, you go out for
oh yeah, you go nuts.
Yes, and mum and dad would pick her up at like 10.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's these things in everyone's kind of like day to day. You don't think about it, but it's kind of limited your expression in this Australian landscape, which I think if it were back home, no issue, but because we've grown up in such a different environment, I feel like it just hasn't been allowed to, you're not allowed to kind of blossom in the same way that I guess
you're not
your age peers are, like the same time and stuff.
That's the thing. I think that's why the time, the lateness, we're saying these words not by design, it's just coming out. It makes it, like when they mentioned your sister getting picked up at 10.
Yeah.
Like that's probably a very normal thing for a lot of brown parents.
Exactly,
Asian parents.
If they're
talking
even
about
allowed
brown because we're brown.
If they even allowed to go out,
even if they're, exactly.
Like, oh, you went to a party last week, you can't keep going out. And, like it's...
This is one, I don't know if it's related. Might be a tangent. But I love that whole, are you going to a party next week? Okay, cool. Then the week after, like, I got a party the week, next Tuesday. It's like, whoa, you went for one last Sunday. It's like, what is the logic of that?
It's like, oh, you've already had your fun. Your quota's over.
And I know I'm joking about it now, but I just take so much cadence with that. Like, be like, no, that is life. And then only recently, maybe past 2-3 years, I've been like, whoa, that's the stupidest thing ever.
That's the thing.
I can do anything. I should be able to do, like...
It becomes so drilled into you. It's like a value. It becomes your own values. Like, subconsciously, like, oh, these people going out every weekend, like...
How do they do it?
What are they doing? Yeah. Like, do they not... But it's like, wait, why can't they? Like, what do you...
Yeah, and I was like, I wouldn't go out every weekend also, by the way. I'm not that person.
No, but yeah.
But they have the choice to do it.
Well, yeah, but, even... I'm going to sound so, like, pretentious and stuff, but it's like, I'll see, even when I was in early uni, I'd see people going out, like, every weekend, like, waiting for the weekend, just going absolutely smash and just, going crazy, which is fine, do what you want, but then it was so frequent and, it kept happening where I thought, gosh, what are you guys doing? Like, but that's obviously been drilled into you from years and years and years of...
you have your fun... And it's like, you work hard.
Everyone's just kind of, doing the drugs on the weekends, and I was like, oh, what are you guys doing? Like, you should be, fix your life. And it's like, wait, why can't they do drugs and just enjoy themselves?
Almost like you become you're basically talking as your parents.
Yeah, without even realizing.
Yeah, it's not like the Lullet thing. It's not that bad, but it's you are saying like and that's how a lot of society works. In that environment.
No, 100%.
So I think that's why with the lateness that you mentioned, it's maybe it just takes a bit longer for us to find that's going to sound so bloody, find our voice.
No, but
find our own identity.
I think that's true.
Because you have to wait, most of the cases, by the way. I think some brown people are probably like, just like, no.
Of course, there's always outliers.
Yeah.
There's always outliers.
But most of it's like, no, I have to kind of wait till I'm like, after, I think for me it was like after high school and then maybe even in uni, that's when you start being like, oh no, I'm gonna try, like, I'm gonna do this, this doesn't seem that right to me, I'm just gonna do what I feel like.
Well, I guess that ties back to when I was thinking about I wasn't actually I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna go here. I hadn't that wasn't in my head, but it was more that I enjoyed myself so much in that year that I'm like, this would be, and I think it's probably also a lot of it came from just the freedoms of not being at home. But I think I'm just like, wow, like I would absolutely love to just get out of here.
Yeah.
But then in thinking that, I kind of like, you can't just leave like that, like, and then I kind of felt bad about my parents and then obviously that never eventuated. I don't think that's only because the guilt or whatever, but I think there was obviously that train of thought that
usually doesn't come into people who aren't in the
I think it's
situation, the diaspora. Like,
if any, maybe not expectation. Maybe it's just like that respect for elders and parents that's been drilled into us.
That's probably a better word. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
That respect of you did all this for us, and now we can't just leave you and abandon you in this new place that isn't still completely
Which is interesting. I know it's about going really further ahead in life here, but I've always I thought about this when I was younger as well. And I used to have that similar thought pattern with you, where I was like, when I was doing bad at school or uni, I was like, oh man, I was never sad for myself. It was always, oh man, if I so bad for my parents, they spent all this money. And funnily enough, that never solved the issue until the time where I mentioned in the other video, where I was actually like, you know what, let's do this for yourself. I want to complete this because I need to show to myself that I can do it. What happened? After a lot of hard work, I finally completed it. So I forgot what you actually talked about. Down the line. This happens with here, it's like you're born here as white people, basically. Australian. You're born here, you get married or move out, whatever, and you basically visit your parents for dinner and everything, and they live on their own. What's going to happen with us? Do we have a responsibility to take your parents with you when you move? Not move out, but maybe when you've got your own family, do they stay with you?
Well, yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
Because you mentioned the whole... I'm leaving.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do they go back to India when they're like, we've done everything here?
But that's what I mean.
Are they Indian anymore? Do they feel like going back after 30 years?
I feel like there's definitely that...
It's a bit fun.
No, but I feel like there's definitely that... even for me, I think about that, I'm like,
what happened?
You can't just be like, cool, cheers, see you later. Obviously they've literally...
But can you? This is the issue. This is where I'm like, how selfish do you have to... You have to be selfish, obviously, but how selfish do we have to be?
But see, again, and then even using that language of selfish, it's like... That's
that's
been drilled into us to even think that is a selfish thing. It's like, just doing that for yourself is selfish, as opposed to just normal.
It's
like
really
what people
tough.
would,
I'd love to do this podcast with my parents if we become parents. Because I reckon your thought would be so much different. You'd be like, I'll raise that little runt for 20 odd years, and he's just going to leave me. But we don't know the answer.
Well, that's also, that's changing for here as well. I see so many white families that are just, together now and intergeneration,
that's because of the house prices have fucked.
Well, that is all. That's throwback. This is why we need a Marxist discourse.
No.
Okay. Really.
What? Throwback to what? We haven't done the video yet.
Nah, but I said it
one
did,
time. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm after a lot of points here where I go this video, this video, this video.
Is this, I don't know, is this something that...
You are right. I think kids are staying longer at home nowadays, obviously. Look at us. But yeah, I just, it's hard to think about. What happens? What's the right answer?
I don't think there is a right answer, but...
Do we ask them, really, what do you do? Do you just want to go back to India? Or?
Well, obviously not, but is this one of those things?
Because they spend half their life here now.
No, yeah, but... I don't think that there ever can be an answer. It's so complicated. It's going to change day to day versus, different people to people. But I think... And I don't even know what is the right thing. Do we just not let that respect or expectation, whatever you want to call it, dictate our lives? Or is that just a value system that we have, and we, it's okay to respect your parents and have that expectation and, live life differently or, in a way that would be more acceptable back home? Is there a right answer? I don't know.
It's tough because now I'm thinking, well, it's not going to ever go away.
No.
The respect and everything. But I've recently, I think recently, 4 or 5 years, just to be a bit more selfish. And that, on the flip side, is good for me. But on the other side, it's kind of like, well, thanks. See you guys.
Also, but that's what I mean. I feel like it's more where do you draw that line? Because some things, they're just unreasonable about. Don't do this because, the kutum and what will... I was like, shut up. Like, I do not care. Like, you know, like, I do not care.
Yeah.
But there's other things.
Do you say that, by the way?
100%.
Okay, good. So I'm going to say, you can't hide that. And
no, I get upset at...
Yeah, good.
I'm like,
you have to say it.
Shut the... Like,
you have to educate them.
I get angry.
Okay, well,
I don't educate. I get angry. I'm like, bro, I do not care if they're coming. Like, I don't care what they're going to say. Like, what are you talking about?
Are you giving me a random example? Oh, okay.
No, just like anything. Like, oh, like, for example, this has to look this way because, you know, they might... Or, you know, you can't get a tat because, you know, what will people think? And only one now, no more. Yeah. And it's like, this is my life. I'm not going to dictate it based on your illogical expectations.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I'm like, well, we've mentioned before, if it's your life, then how much do you really have to own?
It's my life. It's now. Anyway, it's one of those songs.
We ain't gonna... Sorry, I'll catch. Should do karaoke. I fucking love karaoke. Like, side note, I did it like once.
Yeah, I love
in the
karaoke.
lockdown period where I was like a little bit open for a bit. Fucking so much fun.
I love karaoke.
And I killed it. Killers.
Oh. One time we were karaoke and we saw the Bachelor Girls, and we karaoke with them.
What?
Kira and someone else. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, the blonde one.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man, that's a story.
I got some selfies and stuff. We're all singing together.
No, you should put that in.
Yeah, we should put it in.
Yeah.
Is there a way to overlay it?
Oh god, well, that'll be tough. But yeah, we'll try it. I can't even get the background proper. So yeah, I think you mentioned before, we don't have the answer.
We don't have the answer, but even
I don't think anyone bloody does. Yeah. Maybe if we ask our older cousins. But then if you look at them, you see different
there are whole stories. Yeah, there are exactly.
So it's like, what is the right answer? Is it always just, are we doomed for like upsetting them anyway?
You can't win. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. No, you can. Sorry,
like we're doomed to...
No, you can win. It's if you choose to enjoy your life. If you try and live making them happy when you're 40, it's going to be like you're not going to be happy internally. So I'm saying you can't win in terms of you're either going to do that or you're going to enjoy your life and then maybe disrespect them a bit. Yeah. But, I mean...
It's hard. I don't know.
It's like, what else can you do? I
feel like there's definitely a way to navigate it where you can...
Do you reckon there's a line you can set
I feel like there's probably ways you can respect their wishes without, you know, being a dick, but also not them letting be a dick to you in the sense of, you know...
Maybe it'll come with just age maturity, and maybe we haven't given enough credit to them. Maybe when they sit down, we're like, no, it's all done. Maybe
we don't try and change them. Maybe it's just we accept it, and now it's on us to then start afresh, and you know, for the next generation. I don't know.
Just try and take the lessons learned. That's all you can do, right? But
alas. Another episode of us not having answers and just kind of talking.
We don't have it. If you're coming on here for answers, you're on the wrong channel.
No. Yeah. No one's coming on here.
No, we got 6 subscribers now. What are you on about?
I saw.
And we don't even know who that person is. Unless it's one of our friends who's like private. But if not, we appreciate you. And to the other people watching, just subscribe, you lazy bastard. It's not that hard.
And keep a lookout for new and exciting things coming. So
that's right.
To be fair, we're taking over.